Let's move on now to main topic number 4. Chris, what is our 4th main topic today?
4th topic is from Geeky Gator. Hey, John. I just read that Feige almost quit his job at Marvel due to clashing with CEO Perlmutter. They eventually split the two sides, but could you imagine if he did quit? How different would the MCU be today? Would it still have succeeded? Do you think we could have had the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it without Feige?
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, and I'm sure there's, Rob put out a really good tweet the other day, say over the next coming days, there's going to be 70,000 YouTube videos made about this thing, which a book that none of these people have even read yet. But
Right.
Bob Iger has just put out his new book and talking about his 15 years of leading Disney, which I am going to get on today. I'm going to start listening to that today because I'm going to download the audio version, listen to it. But one of the things that he talked about, now we all remember a couple years ago when Alan Horn didn't used to be overseeing the MCU. In a very, very unique situation at Marvel, there were movies being made that weren't under the purview of Alan Horn. It was under Ike Perlmutter, who's heading up Marvel for Disney. And Kevin Feige was reporting directly to Ike Perlmutter. But that situation wasn't good. And then they did a massive restructuring years ago where they moved all the movie division stuff from the MCU under Alan Horn. And now Kevin Feige was reporting directly to Alan Horn instead of Ike Perlmutter. Anyway, Bob Iger talks about this in his book, and it comes out to this too. Kevin, says Bob, is one of the most talented film executives in the business. But my sense was that the strained relationship with New York, aka Ike Perlmutter, was threatening his continued success, aka he was going to leave. I knew I had to intervene. And so in May of 2015, I made the decision to split Marvel's movie-making unit off from the rest of Marvel and bring it under Alan Horn and the Walt Disney Studios. Kevin would now report directly to Alan and would benefit from his experience, and the tensions that had built up between him and New York office would be alleviated. Bob Iger, by the way, once again proving why he is the best movie executive, even though he's not a movie executive. He's the head of Disney Corp all over, but why he's one of the smartest executives in the business. He recognized a bad situation. He made what I'm sure was a painful transition for a number of people there and made that happen. But yeah, the relationship, from everything we've all heard, the relationship between Kevin Feige and Ike Perlmutter really was that bad. It was that bad to the point that even though 4.5 years ago, the MCU was not where it is today, but it was already a big thing. Kevin Feige, we had all heard whispers about this. Kevin Feige was getting ready to hit the exit door. He was getting ready to go. He found the situation untenable and he was going to leave. Imagine if he had. Imagine if he had. Now, this gets us into a what if question, Rob. What would have happened? How would this have played out? The real answer to that question is we'll never know. But it couldn't have been good. Kevin, I'm not saying it would have been disastrous. I'm not saying if Kevin Feige would have left that he wouldn't have had a couple of lieutenants been able to stand up and keep the ship going and all. Absolutely. But losing Kevin Feige definitely would not have been a good thing. Kevin Feige had already laid out the blueprint, all that kind of stuff, but make no mistake about it, it has been his guiding hand over all the movies that has brought the MCU to where it is today. And a huge kudos to Bob Iger for making that move, and the rest has become history. So, Rob, I'm not going to sit here and say, if Kevin Feige had left, everything would have fell apart. I'm not going to say that. But it wouldn't have been good. And I do think that maybe Bob Iger didn't avert a disaster, but I think he averted fairly negative situation by doing this. Rob, how do you see, if we had to look into a crystal ball and say, how would the future have unfolded? If we could have done, It's a Wonderful Life and look back on our life if Kevin Feige had indeed left 4.5 years ago. Disaster, not a big deal. Where do you think we would have been today?
Well, I'll tell you what, this just listening to you talk makes me want to see an episode. What if Kevin Feige had left the MCU, leaving Ike Perlmutter to call the shots? I mean, that's got to be an extra episode, a special Christmas episode of the Marvel What If series for Disney Plus. No, I think, what's really interesting is Ike Perlmutter is a nuts and bolts spreadsheet kind of a guy. He's not a creative. It was all over money. And I'm sure Ike Perlmutter was probably like, you want to pay so-and-so, whether it was Robert Downey Jr., what, to be in this? How much is Downey Jr. going to make for Spider-Man Homecoming? What? And Kevin Feige knows. I mean, the guy knows. Remember, he made 13 Marvel movies. Well, he worked on 13 Marvel movies before the MCU started, before Iron Man. He knows. And he's like, look, it doesn't matter how much Robert Downey Jr. wants. I know you think it's an exorbitant amount of money. We are going to pay him because it means this much more money to our overall cinematic universe and to Spider-Man Homecoming. I know what I'm doing. You do not, because you're making decisions based on money alone. I'm sure that was where the tension came from. And so Kevin Feige's like, if you're not going to let me do my job, why should I be here? And of course, cooler heads prevailed. Bob Iger, my man, Bob Iger. I got to talk to him about this at our Sunday squash game. But we clearly
pitch him that Campea's Iron Man Reborn.
Too.
I
will. I'll do both. I'll do over my lobster at Jeffrey's in Malibu.
Oh, good.
I think that it just shows what a great executive is, and this is how business is made. This is how business is conducted. Bob Iger knew what was going on. He had to save his golden goose, and he had to make sure he had to make nice with the money guy. So he did exactly what a great studio head does.
What also came out of that too was that was a couple of things that Perlmutter, and this is going in advance, but he did not want to. He was not going to greenlight Black Panther. He didn't think he was not going to greenlight Captain Marvel. And what did those films do? Oh, they both joined the $1 billion club.
Yeah.
I mean, so we look back now and we say, oh, well, that was clearly an easy decision. We always think that in hindsight, big decisions that were made were easy decisions. At that time, that could not have been an easy decision.
Nope.
To completely restructure the way his corporation was running, to really kind of throw one guy under the bus in favor for another guy, to reallocate all the guys around one creative person, Kevin Feige. That was a huge decision. And then, again, in hindsight, we can look back and go, oh, that was an easy decision. But we weren't there, and we weren't in that situation at the time. And I think that was pretty massive. Question is, guys, what, you're going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, this is when somebody knows they are right.
Yeah.
You know, like Bob Iger went with his gut, and he knew. And he wasn't wrong, and he wins in the end. I mean, and this is, look, there's a lot of money. There's always a huge element of risk in Hollywood. But a guy like Bob Iger, when you know your business, you know how to win, and you know the decisions you have to make. And Iger did it. And
he did. Question is, guys, how do you think the MCU would have worked out in the end had the unthinkable have happened? That back, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, Kevin Feige had actually up and left the MCU and Marvel instead of this restructuring that Bob Iger did. What do you guys think about that whole situation? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right.